Today we're going to talk about the apostles and their reaction to Jesus flipping the tables and freaking out in the middle of the temple here. It's quite interesting. Particularly a few of their insights are fun to look into. So let's jump into it here.
I'm just trying to make sure I heard you clearly. You said no more sacrifices are to be brought into the temple?
Yes, Judas.
Then how are the people supposed to observe Passover?
Rabbi, this is the place.
So it is.
Where are you going?
I need to be alone, Peter.
So he walks past Phoebe's place where they're staying, and he begins to kind of find a place on his own. He wants to be alone, as he's going to say here.
Many more things to say later on, and I need to pray.
But they'll be looking for you.
Maybe they'll find me, Z.
And of course, I think that's a double meaning, right? Maybe they'll find me out in the wilderness, but also maybe they'll find me, right? Maybe if they come looking for me, they'll actually see truth for once in their lives. I think that's kind of a double meaning there.
Maybe he who seeks shall find.
All right, everyone inside. We need to talk. Z,
He shouldn't go by himself.
he said he wanted to be alone.
I'll follow him at a distance. He won't even know.
Really? He won't know?
He said the people looking for him might find him.
That was a joke, Z.
It wasn't a joke.
You'll recognize this area, by the way. This hallway that they're filming right here is the same hallway in season 4 that Gaius comes and talks to Matthew. And Matthew says, I have one thing to do today. Follow him, right? That's the same corridor. It's also the same place, I believe, where the synagogue is right to the right here through the wall there. So a lot of Capernaum stuff has been shot right in this location right here near Phoebe's house. Of course, it's hard to tell that because this is supposed to be Jerusalem here, but it's the same set that's in Texas there.
He's been saying for days that they will find him. And you should come inside, Z. We're going to need each other more than ever.
Yeah, hard stuff, right? Overall, we're really seeing these guys go through not understanding and having to be okay with that in general. Let's go back. He says, who has been with him the longest is how John starts this here.
Do you have any idea what that was? I've never seen him do anything like that. Ever. Well, has anyone seen any physical aggression of any kind? I guess at the construction site?
So a little bit of an Easter egg here. We're seeing that Thaddeus is the first person to ever follow Jesus within the Chosen. Of course, we know that biblically this is not true. But within the Chosen, they had Thaddeus and little James follow first. And so keep that in mind for the future of the season. Thaddeus was the first one to follow Jesus.
I remember one time he arm wrestled a man at lunch. That was all in good fun. He was laughing.
Did he win?
Nathaniel, we've all heard him shout before. Harsh, aggressive rebuke.
I love that. Did he win?
At the Kiva and the other Pharisees in Capernaum on the day that Rama.
No, but that was all.
Yeah, awkward moment there. Andrew brings up the day that Rama died, how he was like yelling at them. This chapter, Matthew 23, which actually happens in Jerusalem, actually happens within this episode. We're going to talk about that later. But here he's referencing that the same words that he was saying in Capernaum and how he kind of tore into the Pharisees there, but he didn't actually physically attack them or anything.
Verbal. He didn't lift a finger.
You're serious? He allowed violence to escalate all around him on account of his words and took no action to stop it.
So here, Thomas is really not defending Jesus. He's still emo Thomas. We're going to see more of that, of course, and see where he comes to. But we're seeing a pretty big difference here between the Last Supper clips of Thomas and these clips of Thomas in the actual season. Thomas definitely is not a super, he's not taking every word of Jesus to heart, for sure.
I think we should be very clear about something. He did not strike any person or animal in the market.
Are you crazy?
He overturned tables and inanimate objects. He did not whip the animals. He opened their pens, cracked his whip, and drove them out.
Oh.
I saw merchants and money changers get knocked to the ground by the stampeding animals and the tables
But
flipping.
did he physically assault anyone?
Does it matter when the overall outcome is that people did get hurt?
Who cares if a handful of people got bruised? The entire event
was an assault on our nation's religious system of worship and sacrifice.
So let's talk about where Judas is, okay? Yeah, Judas is in a really weird place, right? At the end of episode 2, we see him walk into the courtyard, the court of Gentiles. He looks over towards Jesus and he says, "What have you done?" Right? And his heart is just broken because he was expecting in the first episode of the season to come in with the triumphal entry and to just completely take over the city, right? To take out all the Romans, to build an army of people, and to overthrow Jerusalem. That's what he was expecting to happen. That Jesus, at the very least, would start to attack Rome and the imperial, occupation, rather than to attack his own people, which is seemingly what he's been doing. He's been attacking the Jewish leaders, the religious leaders, and not Rome for some reason. And he's very confused about that. Why is this the case? What is happening here that is things are not going the way that I thought they would, right? And so Judas is very confused right now. He doesn't know what to believe. He doesn't know how to operate. And he's asking Jesus all these questions, but Jesus is not really giving him any answers for what is happening.
It's no observation. He said as much, plainly.
It was an assault on the wrong version of our system of worship and sacrifice. I think we can all trust him to know the difference.
And if we're asked to make a statement? How can we defend both his behavior and words?
Are you saying you wouldn't defend him?
Yeah, what are you saying, Judas? Are you saying you wouldn't defend him?
This week, there's a chance for the Messiah to unite all of our people. Everyone is listening to him, and he just made even more enemies.
Yeah, he's like, "You're ruining it, Jesus. Like, you had this time, you could have done this, but instead, you just ruined everything."
I'm saying I want to defend him, Z, but I don't know how.
Look, I agree with Matthew and Philip. There is discernment in these actions. It is not out.
Judas.
And of course, everyone starts to argue, as they always do. Mary gets up to leave.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous. That's what we signed up for. He's right. We have no allies on anything. It's dangerous. Just him going on a tirade. It was just... Mary, where are you going?
To get help.
From who?
Please don't ask me any questions.
Are you going to Bethany?
She's like, "I just told you don't ask me any questions."
No one in Bethany can help us now.
Should we send someone to Bethany? Tell his mother what
I
happened?
think that's why he sent her away, so she wouldn't have to see.
Mary. You know what you're doing?
No.
Fair. Just...
We get a theme there, a musical theme. Ba-da-da, ba-da-da. I think that's Mary's theme or something similar to it. I can't remember exactly whose theme that is or where that comes from, but we hear it quite a lot in The Chosen.
Just tell me you won't get into trouble.
I cannot.
So promise me you're not going to get in trouble. I cannot. And that's where we see that scene end. Then later on, we get another scene with a couple of the boys as they come in. And then a really nice scene with Matthew and Jesus as well, which is quite interesting.
Do you ever wonder what it would be like to see some of the things he did if you weren't his follower?
Yeah, like how would we react if we didn't know who Jesus actually was and if we weren't following him for the last 3 years, right? What would that actually look like? Yeah, it's a hard question.
You've poorly stated the question. But I wonder that all the time. I think today I would have thought, well, that man is having a terrible day. I'm going to stay as far away as I possibly can.
Yeah, how would you react to Jesus if you knew nothing about him? If you were there during that time, how would you have reacted? I probably would have stayed away, to be honest with you. I would have wanted nothing to do with anything that's going to get me killed or get my family killed. And it would have been a very hard thing for me to get me to follow Jesus at that time, I think.
Well, thank you for that, Nathaniel. I seem to remember people singing and chanting.
Really?
Do you not remember that part?
Debatable.
They were cheering, enthusiastic.
Master.
Oh, hello, Matthew. I'm going to preach. Would you like to come?
Do the others know?
No, not yet. Then let's talk for a bit. Maybe you can decide if I should invite them.
So Jesus is back. He's calmed down quite a lot. Matthew here just wants to have a discussion with him, which I think is very interesting. I like this discussion a lot.
Why wouldn't we invite the others?
I was only being slightly facetious.
Oh.
I know how some of the things we've already seen this week could come as a shock.
I can only speak for myself, but I'm willing to be surprised. I crave surprise in the sense that surprise is something that is unexpected, but it brings me closer to understanding. Shock, on the other hand, separates me from understanding.
It's an interesting way of talking about it. So surprise enables him to have more understanding in a positive way, almost. He's surprised by what Jesus does, but then he's worried about shock, because shock comes with a negative connotation. Shock of seeing someone killed, shock of seeing someone get hurt, shock of something unexpected happening to him in his life, right? And so he doesn't want that, because it brings him further away from understanding because it's chaotic. Right. Whereas surprise can give you information, right? At least that's how he's framing it here.
And above all, you seek understanding.
Above all, I seek you.
Then you already understand.
Rabbi, you remember that time that we worked on the sermon in Chorazim?
Of course.
So what he's referencing here is, of course, back to season 2, episode 8, episode 7 and 8, as Matthew helped Jesus to basically organize the Sermon on the Mount. This is a situation where a lot of people were upset at this during the time, because why would Jesus need help? And here I love how Matthew actually brings it back to what we talked about even back then, several years ago, where we said it's not that Matthew needs to help Jesus or that Jesus needs the help. It's that Jesus wants to teach Matthew something specific, and he wants Matthew there to learn it while he's going through this sermon.
I wanted to say thank you. I know you did that to teach me.
So there is the confirmation of that. We don't really get that anywhere else in the series so far, but we know that Matthew knows now, hey, I know you did that to teach me. Thank you.
And you will teach others.
I know to seek you, but this last week,
Of course, the connection to you will teach others, of course, connects to what Matthew will do in the future. The fact that we're reading out of his book today, right, is a pretty big deal.
Feel that lack of understanding again. I need to work with you again, so...
I know, Matthew. But there is no more time for me to work with you one-on-one in person.
This is an interesting line right here. I've been thinking about this line for the last several months as we saw it in the theaters. It's an interesting way to talk about it here, because he says, there's no more time for me to work with you one-on-one in person. I don't think this would be a phrase that would be used during the day, right? Maybe they would use it in terms of like sending a letter or something, but clearly there's no technology that you could do something not being in person, right? So clearly what I think Jesus is referencing here is that he's obviously going to be there in spirit, and that he'll be able to talk with Matthew later on in his life when he's writing down the accounts of the gospel and everything else. But I don't know why that phrase seems a little interesting here, why they would use that phrase specifically. There's no more time for us to work together one-on-one in person. Jesus clearly referencing the future here and what will be happening there with Matthew as he's writing his gospel and being a part of the early church, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, interesting.
It's time you start discerning my message so that you can teach others. Come.
But Rabbi, there's still so much I don't...
You understand enough. And you will understand more this week if you listen and observe. It won't be simple or easy, but it will make sense soon enough.
I don't know if I have talked about this enough, but I love the way that Phoebe's house looks. Do I think that logically Jesus and his followers would stay in a house that is filled with pagan idols? I really, really do not think so. I think this is a very low chance thing of happening. As Jews, they would have been highly, highly offended, and I don't think it's something that Jesus would just overlook. Yeah, I just don't. It would be such a hypocritical thing to go into the temple and say, how dare you guys treat my father's house like this? And then to go back out into the city and live in a house filled with pagan idols. It seems a little bit strange to me. But that being said, I do love this set and how it looks in general, the way that they've put it together. James, who is the set designer, always does an amazing job. And this is no exception for sure. This is an amazing, amazing set. I've been there in person. Really, really cool set for sure.
Even to you.
Rabbi, are you going somewhere?
Oh, well, Matthew and I were just discussing sermons, and I'm on my way to deliver one to a very special audience.
Someone in the chat's asking, why does Jesus get mad at Matthew here? I don't think he gets mad at Matthew. I think he's just very serious at the moment, really telling Matthew what is going on.
You know, I was thinking of telling the story of the vineyard, so...
Seriously? Yes, we're ready. We can. I need my drink back.
Drew, we need the grapes. Don't forget.
Yes,
And we will get to the next scene after this in a bit. Anyway, yeah, that's the apostles. I think they're in a really interesting spot. We get a couple of scenes this season that are very intense with the apostles and trying to figure out what is going on, right? They are very confused at times. And so, yeah, anyway, really, really cool section here. We're going to talk a lot more about the apostles throughout the series, throughout the season. And yeah, definitely stick around. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.